Coming up next on your spoiler-free wrestling news rundown, CM Punk talks the inspiration for his Ricky Rabies character on Heels. Everyone is reacting to a controversial Nia Jax versus Charlotte Flair match on Raw this week, and also everything there is to know about Adam Cole we discuss up next on your spoiler-free wrestling news rundown. This is just a reminder that we omit any news or information which could potentially spoil the results, angles, storylines, or surprise debuts taking place in professional wrestling. If you appreciate this type of wrestling coverage, please consider subscribing, clicking the notifications bell, and sharing this video with friends. The television ratings are in for the Friday night pro wrestling shows. We've got ratings for both SmackDown and AEW Rampage. So looking at the numbers for the SmackDown on August 27th, 2021, the ratings were pretty good. 2,250,000 viewers and a 0.59 in the 18 to 49 demographic. That is a good number for the post-SummerSlam edition of SmackDown. Perhaps people tuning in to see Becky Lynch, perhaps thinking that Brock Lesnar was on this show. So that's the highest total viewership that SmackDown has done since the July 16th episode last month. You can see they are now at 7 straight weeks of being over the 2 million mark. The 0.59 they got in the 18 to 49 demographic was the best they've done since the August 6th episode, which was a 0.61. But that is one of the better numbers they've done in the key demographic all summer. Then turning to AEW Rampage, only 3 episodes of Rampage have ever taken place. And you can see they got a 0.34 in the 18 to 49 demographic and 722,000 viewers total. And so up on your screen now are the 3 weeks worth of ratings for AEW Rampage. So this was the lowest total viewership they've gotten in the 3 weeks, but the second best in the key demo. And of course, the first week and the most recent week pale in comparison to CM Punk's return to pro wrestling on the August 20th episode. So Nia Jax and Charlotte Flair had quite the match on WWE Raw last night. If you didn't see it, you don't need to go out of your way to see it, but it's garnered a lot of strong reactions from fans online. A lot of fans online saying that it looked like some of the moves were botched, that maybe it looked like the two had started shooting on each other. Others saying that no, they just wanted to make it look like they were shooting on each other. No one's sure. No one really knows except for Nia Jax and Charlotte Flair. But what we do know is that the match came out looking a little sloppy. The end of the match came when Nia kicked Charlotte off of her. Charlotte goes headfirst into the turnbuckle and sort of played it off like she had gotten knocked loopy. Jax then picks her up, slams her, and pins her for the clean victory. So Nia Jax has now defeated the Raw Women's Champion in a non-title match that will likely lead to a title match between Nia Jax and Charlotte Flair. Also concerning last night's WWE Raw, several matches that had previously been announced for the show ended up not taking place. On last week's Raw, John Morrison versus The Miz was scheduled for this week's show, but that match didn't end up taking place. Also, Bobby Lashley versus Sheamus was advertised for the show, and that match didn't end up taking place either. So Mike Johnson of PW Insider is reporting that the WWE creative team had a particularly long day on Monday. It was described as one of the longest days that they've had in some time. Vince McMahon was said to have torn up several scripts leading up to the show, and that there was no real plan for what would happen that night up until 6 p.m., so just a few hours before the show. Johnson wrote, "We are told that McMahon then began requesting new ideas, some of which we are told were good and others not so good, but rejected everything pitched to him before decreeing the new plans for last night's episode." CM Punk has been busy doing media rounds as of late, both to promote his new television series Heels and to promote the upcoming AEW shows in Chicago. he spoke with Sportskeeda recently about his Ricky Rabies character on Heels. According to Punk, the character is an homage to the late Tracy Smothers, who unfortunately the wrestling world lost last October. Here is what Punk had to say. He said, Ricky Rabies is Tracy Smothers, you know, and we lost Tracy a couple of years ago, and he was the first name I ever wrestled, maybe. I wrestled Tracy Smothers in a barn in southern Indiana in 1999 or 2000, something like that. And he just walked up to me, he's like, hey man, I seen you work, you're good. Listen, I can't remember, you know, is it okay we just go out there and do it? I can't memorize this and that. We can talk about it, but I'll just forget it. Punk also did some media recently with ESPN, and they asked him why he chose to sign with AEW rather than going back to WWE. And here is what Punk said about the locker room in AEW. He said, it kind of helped breathe life back into my love of professional wrestling. I see this young upstart company that's full of what I call punk rock youthful exuberance, rough around the edges, but just so eager to learn and soak up everything they possibly can. It's new and it's exciting. He then continued to talk about how the AEW locker room keeping news of Brody Lee's illness a secret was something that stood out to him. He said, one of the big things that turned me on to them and made me consider going there was, unfortunately, the wrestling world lost Brody Lee last December. His sickness and everything that came with it was known in the company, but they kept it so secret. And wrestlers will always tell you that, oh, the boys, we're a big family, we care about each other, the wrestling business. None of that is entirely true. But to see everyone in the company band together just to keep a secret about somebody's health, I was blown away by that. I was blown away that it wasn't plastered all over every single website, and it was just kept secret. And that made me go, there's something to that locker room. There's little to know about the current situation involving Adam Cole. All that is known is that his contract with WWE expired recently and he's a free agent. It is not known who he'll sign with. If it's possible for him to re-sign with WWE, nobody knows. Lots of people are pretending to, though. There was one person who put out a contract offer to Adam Cole rather publicly, however, and that is SmackDown commentator Pat McAfee. He was on his Pat McAfee show and also sent out this tweet offering Adam Cole $22,000 a year to work as an assistant for his Pat McAfee show. So a dark horse candidate now to land Adam Cole might be Pat McAfee, but somehow I don't think so. Ric Flair was the guest on an episode of Renee Paquette's Oral Sessions podcast that was released today, and it was Flair's first podcast appearance since leaving WWE, and he had plenty of noteworthy things to say. When they asked him what led to his departure from WWE, Flair basically said he wanted to be out there doing things, and WWE just wanted to pay him to stay home and not go anywhere else. Here are some of the quotes that Flair said on the show. He said regarding WWE, there's no animosity whatsoever. It was just business. I wanted to try something and they just had a different vision. Renee then asked him what WWE's vision was for him, and Flair responded, to just get paid, basically. A lot of money. Nothing was wrong with that. But Flair continued to say that he wanted to do things. He said, like this weekend, I'm doing the 73rd anniversary of the NWA, which is a huge deal. I probably wouldn't have been able to do that, not because Vince would have said no, it would have never got to him. Flair also said that he talked to Vince after leaving. He said, I talked to Vince after it was over, and I just said, whatever paths our lives take us, we'll always be brothers, and he said, you're damn right. He also commented on the rumors that he could show up in AEW, and this is what Flair had to say. He said, yeah, we're friends, referring to him and Tony Khan, but I haven't heard a word from Tony. If he asks you, tell him I'm around. I hear you know someone that works there. And also, Flair said of his daughter, Charlotte, he said that she'll likely never leave WWE. Flair said, Ashley would never leave there. She's the happiest she's ever been. So that was a few highlights of Ric Flair on Oral Sessions. It's a very good interview. I definitely recommend checking it out. There are 3 professional wrestling shows on television tonight. AEW will present an episode of Dark on YouTube. They have 11 matches announced for the show. The big main event on tonight's card, however, will be a good one. It will be Matt Sydal versus Pac. Also, NWA Power will present the first show since the big events this weekend. Billy Corgan was also on Busted Open Radio this morning and announced that the NWA will return to pay-per-view on December 4th for Hard Times 2 from Atlanta. Then we've got NXT tonight, which is on the USA Network, and here is what is announced for the show. We've got Johnny Gargano will go one-on-one with LA Knight. Tommaso Ciampa and Ridge Holland will go one-on-one as well. Kyle O'Reilly will face Duke Hudson. Also, Ikemen Jiro will take on Roderick Strong. And also on tonight's show will be the new NXT UK champion, Ilya Dragunov. And with that, you are completely up to date on everything that's making headlines in the world of professional wrestling, minus anything which could potentially spoil future storylines, match results, angles, or surprise debuts for you. I'm your host, Gentleman Ian, for Spoiler Free Wrestling.